感谢大家来到大概第36期吧，第36期那个国语书院的读书分享活动。今天是第一次用英文那个主讲进行分享，然后按照以往的惯例的话，就是请那个第一次来的人就先做一下自我介绍，就是怎么知道这个读书会，然后就是在这边做什么，简单介绍一下，然后就介绍完了主讲就可以开始。谢谢你们。
好，大家好，我叫小琴，我是一个朋友介绍过来参加这个活动，然后他说他可能过来，但是现在他没有来，所以然后我把我的朋友丽娜带过来。我现在在旧金山一所国际学校和老师一块写科技课上。
大家好，我叫丽娜，所以我是小琴介绍过来这个读书会的。然后我也是在三丹工作，我是会计，在一家会计师事务所做 tax。
我可以用英文吗？
可以。Okay.
My name's Rebecca. I saw this on the news and I thought it was interesting. So my aunt came with me today.
Hi, I'm Helen. 我是帮今天开车送过来的。开玩笑，我很喜欢这个主题。
Oh, okay, sure. So, 大家好，我叫Yiwei, and I'm going to speak in English because that's how I can talk about science. I don't know how to say it in Chinese, but if you have any questions, 可以用中文问我, and anytime, stop me. Okay, so this program is not PowerPoint, so the words look kind of bad. Sorry about that. Okay, today I'm talking about mountain lions. I think in Chinese that's 美洲豹, maybe? Yes? Okay. Yes, and mountain lions in Santa Cruz Mountains. Has anyone seen a mountain lion before? No? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so has anyone seen this animal before? Do we know what this is? Otter. Yeah. I don't know how to say it in Chinese. Sure. Yeah, so an otter is a predator, and a predator is just an animal that eats other animals. So the first thing I like to talk about is why we even care about predators. Why are they important? So one of my advisors at UC Santa Cruz, where I did my PhD, studied otters in 1970s. Otters are very popular for their fur. If you've ever seen them, they live in the ocean, so they have very thick fur. So their furs are very popular in Russia and China for coats. And because of that, otters were hunted very, very heavily in the 20th century. And otters disappeared from Alaska and California and many places. So with that disappearance, people started noticing that the ecosystem was changing. And when the hunting of otters stopped or got, it wasn't hunted as much, they saw there were changes in the ecosystem as well. So in a place with otters, if anybody goes swimming in the ocean or diving, there's these plants called kelp, and these kelp create basically forests in the ocean. So just like in the Amazon or in Canada with lots of trees, the kelp play the same role. And lots of fish and other animals live in the kelp forest. But when you take otters away from this, what you end up are no more kelp and these things. Anybody know what this is? Urchins? People eat them. Yeah. You can eat them in Japanese restaurants. Yeah. So why is that? You take one animal away and it completely changes the ecosystem. And that's because otters eat a lot of urchins. So without otters, you don't have anybody eating urchins anymore. So the urchins can overpopulate, and what do urchins eat? They eat kelp. And then they eat all the kelp, and you lose the entire forest. So it's like removing the otter can remove food for all the fishes, places for fish to hide, things like that. So a big difference can be made by one predator. On land, we have a similar situation. These are wolves. Has anybody seen a wolf in the wild? Yeah. Yes. So wolves were also hunted and killed across the United States and were lost from many places. In 1995, wolves were brought back to Yellowstone National Park. Has anyone been to Yellowstone National Park? So it's a good place to see wolves. And now, with the return of wolves, they return to hunting these animals, right? Just like they always used to. So they found that bringing wolves back to Yellowstone greatly changed the Yellowstone landscape. So this is a picture of Yellowstone, same place before wolves were back, and this is where after wolves returned. So, the animals that eat the grass, or that eat these trees and shrubs, they used to be able to eat whenever they wanted because there was nothing eating them. But now that wolves came back, their behavior has changed a lot. So they have to watch for wolves. They can't just stay in one place and just eat a buffet, so they have to move. So you can see that the plants come back now because wolves have come back, the plants have come back. So before, people didn't see this relationship of predators and plants. They saw predators eat deer or predators eat urchins, but they didn't realize that impacted the entire ecosystem. Yes?
I was wondering how long those two pictures, the time frame between those two, because they look pretty much the same.
Yeah. So I think it's about 10 years or so, maybe 5-10 years. It was very fast change. Wolves have allowed a lot of different things to happen in Yellowstone, and if you imagine you're an elk, so one of these, I don't know how to say that, but elk, if you don't change your behavior right away, you're going to get eaten, right? So it's very fast that you change your behavior, because otherwise you're going to be dinner.
So did people brought the wolves to the park?
Yes,
On
people.
purpose?
I think like 20 something, not too many. They reproduce, if they're not hunted, they reproduce very fast and can move very fast. So this year, 2015, is the first year in 100 years that we had wolves in California. So our first pack of wolves from Oregon came. So we'll see in the next 10 to 20 years, wolves can probably quickly move down California, maybe into Yosemite. So the other thing predators do is they don't just eat the food, they also provide leftovers. So here is a wolf kill, and you have a grizzly bear and a coyote and lots of ravens eating that same food. So my advisor at Santa Cruz, his research found that wolves actually protect other species from climate change. So with climate change, the winters are not so bad, and not as many animals die during the winters. A lot of these species rely on those animals to die to eat them. But wolves now provide a constant, resource. They're always killing animals, so it provides other species an opportunity to eat these, to scavenge on this food. And the last thing I just want to mention is that predators can also impact diseases. And a lot of people don't think about that, right? Has anyone heard of Lyme disease? I don't know how to say that in Chinese. It's from these ticks. They bite you and it attacks your brain, basically. So these ticks live on deer and they live on mice. So the babies live on like mice and squirrels, and then the adults live on deer. And we found that when you take away wolves, you get more coyotes because wolves are bigger than coyotes and the wolves will kill coyotes. And now that you don't have wolves anymore, you have more coyotes, and coyotes will kill foxes because the fox is the next smaller thing, right? And foxes are the ones that eat a lot of mice. So without foxes there, because coyotes have killed them, you get many, many more mice, which has increased the number of ticks around, and that's made Lyme disease. It's been associated with higher Lyme disease. So who would have thought that you take away wolves, you might actually end up creating disease outbreaks? So very interesting ecological discoveries between relationships between species that you don't even think about. Wolves and ticks, right?
A quick
So,
question.
yes.
So what's the difference between the coyote and the wolf?
Well, the two different species, a wolf is about 80, 90 pounds, and coyotes are about 40 pounds. So they eat different things. Wolves eat large animals like deer, elk. Coyotes eat rabbits, maybe some baby deer. So very two different things. Yeah. Okay. Sure. So predators, hopefully you will agree, can play an important role in ecosystems, and changing predators can also change our own lives without us knowing it or understanding it. But at the same time, predators are also one of the species that are most impacted by people, and there's many reasons for that. One is, sorry, they might need more chairs. One is that predators need big areas. So if you're a wolf or a mountain lion, you need to eat many, many, many deer, right? All the deer are not going to live in a tiny space. So the deer are going to move around. You have to move around to chase the deer. So predators need large areas. And who else likes large areas? People like large areas. So we take a lot of space. We move into those areas that predators use, and although a deer might be able to survive, a wolf no longer can survive in that same space. Predators also have a lot of conflict with people. So people will, shoot them, they'll poison them, or they'll attack, they are scared of them. So there's a lot of reasons that people want to hunt or hurt predators. People also eat, not maybe here, but in other parts of the world, people will eat things like deer. So they compete with predators for food. And because predators are big animals, usually they don't have that many babies. So it takes a long time for them to get to a bigger population size. So for those reasons, predators are more likely to be endangered than most other kinds of animals. So today I'm going to talk about mountain lions, which is California's last apex or big predator. So California used to have grizzlies, used to have wolves, and mountain lions, and today we only have mountain lions left. So again, sorry about the letters. The program doesn't like this. Okay. So just a quick note about mountain lions specifically. Just like wolves and grizzlies, mountain lions have been hunted by the government, by people for most of U.S. history until 1963. California finally was the first state to protect mountain lions. In every single state in the U.S., you can still hunt mountain lions, but California is the only state where you can't kill mountain lions. And before 1963, people were getting paid money to kill mountain lions, so you could get a job where your only job was killing mountain lions. But in the 60s, people started realizing that predators actually have an important role to play, and Californians especially, decided that they really didn't want to support killing predators. So a mountain lion can live all the way in South America and all the way up into Canada. Today, the orange areas are places where it's been hunted to extinction. So only the red areas are places where it remains. But you can see it's still doing very well. Even though it's gone from most of the United States, it still has a very big population compared to wolves or grizzlies. So because they have such a big area, they have, I think, 63 different names from different cultures. So you may have heard cougar or puma or panther. They're all the same animal. So if you go to Florida, Florida has the last population of mountain lions on the East Coast, right here, and they're called Florida panthers. So in different parts of the world, you'll have a different name for them. And compared to all other animals except people, they have the biggest kind of range in North and South America. So very successful animal. Here's an example of how much people were paying to kill lions. So you would bring back a head or a paw to provide evidence, and then the government would give you $20. So in California, in 50 years, over 12,000 lions were killed. But still, they were able to survive in our state and not go extinct. Part of the reason mountain lions survive is because of their behavior. They don't like people, they're scared of people, and they avoid them. They are active at night, so it was harder to find them and to hunt them. And then in 1990, just one second. In 1990, California passed Proposition 117, which is the first law in the nation that officially protects mountain lions from hunting.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just have a quick question. In the photo tree, which one is in the higher, the mountain lion or the wolf?
Sorry, can you say that again?
In the photo tree, which one is in the higher position, mountain lion or wolf?
Like who is a stronger?
Yeah.
One mountain lion can kill a wolf, but because wolves are in family groups and mountain lions are by themselves, wolves usually kill mountain lions because there's like 3 or 4 wolves together against one mountain lion. But if it's one-on-one, the mountain lions win. Yeah.
Question. Actually, can you tell us the difference between a regular lion and what you call mountain lion?
Yeah, so a lion, like an African lion, is a different species. So it lives in Africa and Asia. Mountain lions, they're called mountain lions because back when the Europeans first came to America and they were trading with Native Americans, I think the Native Americans were trying to convince the Europeans that the mountain lions were actually female African lions. So they call them lions. But they're actually, their closest relative besides this small cat in South America is the cheetah. So mountain lions and cheetahs are more closely related than mountain lions and lions or tigers. Yeah. So they're completely different species. Okay. So currently in California, you can't hunt mountain lions. And just to show you an example of how different counties are, all the places in red are places that voted against banning hunting, and all the places in blue are places that voted to protect mountain lions. So you can see that the urban areas like Los Angeles and San Francisco are the ones that voted to protect mountain lions, and the places where people still live do agriculture or still raise animals are places where they don't want to protect mountain lions, which is kind of like the rest of the country, because in most of the other states, mountain lions are still hunted because there's still a lot of ranchers and hunters in those states. So just because mountain lions are protected by law, does that mean that they no longer have to fear people in our state? So actually, there is a loophole. So you are allowed to kill mountain lions if a mountain lion kills one of your animals. So if you have a goat or a cat and a mountain lion comes and kills it, then you have permission from the government to, you have 1 week to find it and kill that animal. So basically, this shows you like how many permits were issued in the last 30, 40 years, and this shows you how many actual lions were shot on those permits. And I'll tell you a little bit about our lions and how often they get shot. So as you can see that the mountain lions used to live in this world, with Native Americans, yeah, but not too many people, definitely not roads and cars and things like that. So our project in the Santa Cruz Mountains, we wanted to look at how does this urbanizing world this is a mountain lion with San Francisco's lights behind it. How does that impact the survival and behavior of this large carnivore? This carnivore that's managed to survive, 200 years of hunting by Europeans. And that's most of what I'm going to talk to you about today. And again, ask questions anytime. Yeah. So this is our study area. Here we are somewhere in Santa Clara, and all of this color is urban houses, and here are some urban areas. These are state parks, these green areas. So we study mountain lions in the Santa Cruz Mountains across this entire range. And we want to know, what is it like to be a mountain lion who lives here? Sometimes you can live like here, where there's very few houses, but some mountain lions live like right here, right where there's the edge of people and the edge of the forest. So what does it mean for those lions to live so close to people? Well, there's a word that I'm going to use, and it's called fragmentation. I don't know the Chinese translation, but basically means when your habitat is broken. So here's Highway 17. Has everyone been on Highway 17? So Highway 17 is fragmenting this habitat from that habitat. So there's no longer connections, right? So that's fragmentation. So what does it mean to have a fragmented habitat? So the first thing, one of the things that happens is death. So here's a mountain lion that was hit on Highway 17, right? So if you want to get from one side to the other, you have to cross the freeway. You might get hit by a car. And death is a very possible scenario. Another one is injuries. So this is one of our males, number 16. You can see right here, it's a big injury. And that's from getting hit by a car on Highway 17. So he survived, actually, and then he continued to cross Highway 17. He did it 31 more times. He had girlfriends on both sides. For him to do that. So it was worth it for him to cross the highway. And even after surviving this, eventually he died. A couple years ago on Thanksgiving, he got shot by somebody because he had eaten a sheep. Yeah. So even if they survive, getting hit, they can run into people.
So how do you actually track the mountain lions?
Oh, I'll get there. Yes. Here's another example. See that deer? That deer was hit by a car. You can see the injuries that they can live with. I don't know. This deer lived for several weeks. I don't know if it survived or if the baby survived, but that's part of what happens when you live near people. Another thing that happens is disease. So this is a coyote. So a healthy coyote would have a big tail, but this coyote obviously doesn't look healthy. So one thing that happens near people is people use a lot of poison on rats and mice, but animals like coyotes will eat that poison and it'll make them weak, and then they'll get more diseases. So we really encourage ways to reduce rats and mice that don't poison the predators, because then you have no more predators eating them too, so you get a bigger problem. And you also probably can't poison all the rats and mice. Another problem that happens is inbreeding. So if you have a small population, you don't have genetic diversity, and then you have problems breeding and having diseases. And that's what happens in Florida, because Florida, if you remember, has a tiny population of mountain lions. And here in the Santa Cruz Mountains, we are getting close to having that problem, because we have some big highways that keep the mountain lions from going out and keep new ones from coming in. But we're not quite there yet. But when you get those problems, you can have, that tail should be straight. You can see it's bent. Then they have problems with reproduction, like low sperm count or abnormal sperm formations. So those are all issues that are associated with living close to people and being cut off from other populations. So I'm going to talk about how we catch mountain lions now. First we want to know kind of where they are. So we do a couple of things. We get so people hit a lot of deer on the road, right? I don't know if anyone's hit a deer before, but it happens pretty often. We get a lot of the dead deer, so we can use it as bait to see if the mountain lions will come to the dead deer. And then we put cameras up that when something walks in front of it, we'll take pictures. So we'll put deer out, put camera, and then if a mountain lion comes to eat it, we can come back, get the camera, and see that this is an area that they use. We work with hound dogs. So dogs are basically like wolves, right? And mountain lions, because they get killed by wolves, whenever they get chased by something like a wolf, they'll go into a tree, just like any cat. So we use these dogs that are trained to sniff out mountain lion scent, to follow them. And the mountain lions then will climb up into trees, and I'll just show you. So they're smelling right now, and they're right under a tree at the moment. And there's the mountain lion in the tree. Yeah. So, you know, it's a process that's generally pretty good for the lion, because the lions, once it's in a tree, it's not too stressed because it knows the dogs can't climb trees. And it's much better than us looking for them, because dogs are much better at finding them. So when it's in a tree, we can shoot it with a tranquilizer gun. So it's we have to make sure that it's a safe place for a mountain lion to kind of come down from the tree. Sometimes they can go 100 feet into the tree, and then we wouldn't shoot it because that's too high to shoot anyway. So we try to shoot it, and then it takes about 3 to 5 minutes to fall asleep, and we use the dogs to follow it to make sure we can find where it goes after it falls asleep. A couple of times it doesn't fall asleep, or it just doesn't get off the tree, so somebody has to climb up there and lower the mountain lion from the tree. Yeah. But I think that's only happened once or twice, and we've caught like 60-something mountain lions, and we've caught some of them 2 or 3 times. Another way to do it is with a cage. So in the cage we put some deer, and then we have the cage open, and when the lion walks in, the cage closes. The cage door has a transmitter, so we can hear when the transmitter signal changes, and that tells us the door is closed, and then we can go and find that lion. And in this case, we don't have to shoot it, we can just give it, poke it with a syringe of tranquilizer drugs, and it's much easier in that sense. But once they go in a cage, they don't usually do it again. They get really smart, and then you have to use dogs. Yeah. So once we tranquilize it, we give it a collar around its neck, and we give it a ear tag, so a little tag on its ear that identifies what number it is. We name our mountain lions from 1 to, I think, 63 now, and F and M for female and male. So when they're tranquilized, their eyes stay open, and they're tranquilized for about an hour before they wake up. So we can either just sit on them if they start waking up, or we can give them more drugs. But if you give them more drugs, you have to wait with them, you know, another hour or 2, because we always wait with them until they wake up and can walk away to make sure they're okay. So the collars we use, this is not a wild lion. Yes?
Do they ever get aggressive when they wake up?
No, they never get aggressive. It's kind of like being really drunk and then waking up and like starting to not be really drunk, like you don't have that much control. So even if they wanted to get aggressive, they wouldn't be able to like really do anything.
So they're okay with you guys just sitting on them?
Yes, well, they're not okay with it, but they can't do anything about it. Yeah. So we don't like do this just to torture them. Like, oops, sorry, wrong way. We want to study, you know, information from them. So from the collars, we're trying to design like some collars that get a lot of information. So in the 70s and 80s, the collars would make a radio signal, and the only information you would get is basically trying to find the radio signal. And you could only find it if you were out there with an antenna kind of looking for the radio signal. In the 90s, we started using GPS collars, and since then, the GPS has gotten much better, like your phones, right, and cars, and it uses much less battery. so we can get a lot more GPS information from them. And our collars, we were the first to put accelerometers in them. So accelerometers are the thing in your phone that knows when you turn your phone to the side, it'll change the screen. So accelerometer measures the body position and the body acceleration. And it does that 64 times a second. So we can have a continuous measurement of how much activity that mountain lion is doing. A GPS collar, even the ones that have a lot of data, we can only get maybe once an hour. So we miss a lot between each hour. But with accelerometers, we can measure not only what they're doing, we can also see how many calories they're using. So here are captive animals we worked with in Colorado to see how their accelerometer collars looked when they were doing different activities. That way we could use the same patterns and find out what the wild animals are doing. We were also the first to train a mountain lion to walk on a treadmill. They said it couldn't be done, but it was done. So this treadmill is closed, and it measures how much oxygen the mountain lion uses. And a measure of oxygen will tell you how many calories the animal is using. So we can see what the accelerometer shows and how many calories it's burning. So then we can see how hard is it to be a mountain lion in the Santa Cruz Mountains? Like, how many calories do you burn each day, and how many do you get from hunting deer? So that way we can see not only where they go, but also if this is a place where they're making a good living, or if it's a place where they're hungry a lot of the time. So this is an example of what accelerometer signatures look like. So when it's not really doing much, it's pretty flat. When it's running, it gets these kind of undulations, like up and down, that shows the animal kind of moving. Like if you imagine when we move, it's a pattern, right? Like step, step, step. It's same for mountain lions. So you can see from the patterns how many steps they're taking and how much energy they're expending. So we use this information to look at their daily activities. So these are 3 male lions on the right and 3 female lions on the left. We can see that the males were really active nighttime and early morning, and not very much in the day. But the females were kind of active, or not very active at all, but they didn't differ too much between day and night, just showing some differences between males and females. We can also follow what they did when they were hunting. So we can see kind of what it looks like when they're eating, when they're jumping on a deer, when they're walking, and when they're walking fast. And then we can use that information to see like how many calories it takes to kill a deer. So this is how much that deer weighed, and this is how much energy it took to kill it. So you can see the bigger the deer, the more energy it took, which makes sense, but no one's ever quantified that before. And then we can also see what kind of activity the mountain lion was doing before it made its kill. So these big spikes are when it killed an animal, which we know because we have GPS information, so we could find a dead animal. So these different colors represent different behaviors. So sometimes it was resting, sometimes it was walking, sometimes it was like really active, which is when it was killing the deer. So this hasn't been done before, where you could actually monitor an animal in the 24 hours before it made a kill, and then also after it killed its prey. So having the accelerometer collars were really good in understanding energy, but we also use the GPS collars to try to understand how their behavior changes in what we call modified landscapes, so places where people build houses and roads. And how do mountain lions change their behavior? And to do that, we looked at GPS points. So these are all the places the mountain lion GPSs took a reading, and different colors are different animals. So you can see, again, that San Jose up there and Santa Cruz down there. So a very big range of our study area. And if there isn't a mountain lion in a place, it's because we didn't catch one yet, not because it doesn't live there. So anywhere in the Santa Cruz Mountains, you will see, not see, but you will know that mountain lions do live there. And this is their territories. so how much space they use. So the big ones are males, like this guy is a male. This one's really big, a male. These ones are females. Mountain lions don't live together, they live solitary. It's not like African lions where males live with females, but the males will want a big territory so that he can find like 3 or 4 different females to mate with. And the females will don't mind living near each other, but don't live with each other. They don't hang out together very much. The only times you see a bunch of lions hanging out is the mom and her kittens. So she will raise the kittens. So you can see the females have much smaller territories because they don't need to go find males, but the males have bigger territories because they need to find females. And males will kill each other if they run into each other, so it's a very dangerous world for teenage males because they'll get killed by adults. A male will also kill kittens if it's not his kittens, because if you're only going to be in charge for like 4 years because another male might come in and kill you, you can't wait for the kittens to grow up for 2 years. You have to get out there and get your own kittens going before another male comes in. So just like if you guys know the movie Lion King, Simba's uncle was trying to kill him off because he wanted to get the females to produce his kittens instead of waiting for Simba to grow up and having to deal with that. Yeah.
When do the kittens start to find new territories?
So the kittens will be with their mom 15 to 18 months. So the males don't usually get a territory. They don't get big enough until they're 2 or 3 years old. So they'll leave their moms before they're 2. And then it's really dangerous, and most of them die like in the next year because they're trying to find a territory that they might run into an adult male and get killed. So they're trying to stay away from adult males and get bigger, basically.
So you mean like each territory only have one player?
One male, yeah. I mean, sometimes a little bit of overlap, but yeah, one male will control a territory and he'll fight with any male. And I'll talk more about that later.
How does the males know if these kittens?
Because that's a good question. No, so I can talk a little bit about that actually. So a female will often mate with more than one male, and you can have kittens from one mom that have like 2 dads. So one mom can have 4 kittens, 2 from one dad and 2 from another. And that's because if the dad knows the mom, it probably knows that the kittens have a chance of being his. So if he comes in and it's a new territory and he doesn't know the female, then he knows none of the kittens are his, right? But if he's been the boss for like 2 years and he knows the kittens are like right in the middle of his territory, then it's a good chance they're his kittens. So it's based on how long he's been there and whether or not he knows the mom. Occasionally they do kill their own kittens, they make mistakes, but usually they're pretty cautious, yeah.
Yeah, but like when the kid leaves their moms.
When the kid leaves their moms, the dad, maybe he's seen them a little bit, maybe he can tell from the smell, but sometimes he kills them too, if he doesn't know, especially if it's a male. Yeah, like a male would not want to stay in the same territory as his dad. Yeah, it's basically, you just want to hide for a year. Don't run into any males, yeah. He won't know or care, probably.
Sorry?
He won't care, he'll just kill a
even
kitten.
he-
Not a female kitten, but a male kitten.
Yeah, even he's your son.
Yeah. So once they leave their moms, they don't have that protection of knowing that that's the kitten. Yeah. So these are all the houses that we found from satellite images in the Santa Cruz Mountains. So even though, these are pretty green, it's not like San Jose and Santa Cruz, but there's still a lot of houses here, right? So a lot of people doing a lot of things in the mountains that the lions have to watch out for. So we want to know, what does it mean to live here versus living here versus living right on the edge there. Those are very different kind of conditions. And this just shows you the density map. So red is more houses, green is no houses, yellow and orange are medium houses. So you can see what it kind of looks like, what this map looks like in color or in density. So we have the GPS movements of mountain lions. So we can see, here they are moving pretty big distances. So these are all 4 hours apart. So sometimes they move like across 17, back across 17, and then sometimes they kind of stay in one place for a long time. So from the GPS points, we can tell when they're moving and when they're resting or eating.
How long does this collar last for?
We try to have it last for 2 years. Yeah, so that we don't have to go bother the animal again. If we don't find it, the collar is naturally going to degrade and fall off after 3 years or so.
And do you normally go back out there to find the animal and put a new collar on?
Yes, we try to put a new collar on, or we just don't put a collar on because we use it for another animal. Yeah. Do you have a question? Or, okay.
I'm thinking like maybe you can use even the biology electronics to support the collar.
Yeah, when we were trying to develop a collar that, those flashlights, you shake them and then you turn it on. So we're trying to develop collars that power from the movement of the animal, or to add power. So if you work with egos, they actually have solar power on them, but the egos are always, outside flying. The lions are always under the trees or sleeping until nighttime, so you can't use solar power. So we try to use movement to power it. Oh, so when they stay a long time at one area, like all these GPS points here, GPS points there, we go to those areas to see if they've killed something. And if they've killed something, we find like deer, usually, a deer head there. So that way we can figure out, how often they're killing things, where they're killing things, and what they do after they've killed something to understand the behavior. So another time they spend a long time at one place is when they have kittens. So here is a female. Look at all these points here. So she spends like 2 weeks there. And then we know she's going to have kittens. And then we can go like 2 or 3 weeks later to see how many kittens she had, to look at reproductive success. So that's a kitten. They're very cute. They have blue eyes and they have spots, just like a cheetah. So if you look at a cheetah kitten and a mountain lion kitten, you can see why they're closely related. Obviously, when they grow up, their spots go away and their stripes go away, and their eyes turn brown. So they look very different as kittens. The other thing mountain lions do is they don't live with each other, right? So how do you talk to each other if you don't ever see each other? Well, what they do is, I'll show you a video. Hopefully it'll work. And maybe it won't work. Okay, I'll show you a video from YouTube. It's the same video, but this one's not working. The internet connected?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, while it's connecting, I'll tell you about it. So basically, they communicate by smell. So they leave like a track there, and they will pee on it, or they'll like leave some poop there for the other lion to find. And then that way, when another one comes by, it can be a week later or 2 weeks later, it will see, what the track looks like. I can also show you on my computer, and we can just pass it around if that doesn't work. Okay. see which one's faster. Okay, so I'll play it a couple times. So it's scraping with its back legs, and if you're in front, maybe you can see it's peeing onto it. And it kind of smells it and makes a nice area on the ground. Then it comes by and sees the camera. Yeah. So if you are walking in the woods and you look down, if you see a rectangle of dirt with leaves, something like that, that's from this. I'll play one more time in case you didn't see it. That's a good way to know if a mountain lion is in an area. Yeah. So it basically just does that.
Is that a poo or a pee?
It will do both, but this time it's peeing. Yeah.
And then the color will turn into red?
It doesn't turn red, but the smell will stay there for a couple weeks. Yeah, so if you really want to, you can go down and like smell it too. But we don't encourage.
So you said this means they're trying to communicate with each other?
Yeah,
What does
let
it
me tell.
really means?
Yeah, I'll tell you 1 second. So this means that a male might say to its neighbor, like it might do it on its boundary and say, hey, I'm still here, I'm still healthy. And the neighboring male will often come back and also kind of pee on the same place to say, yes, I'm here too. So that way they stay away from each other and don't kill each other. Because they don't want to die or fight either. So if they can avoid it that way, that's great. When a female is ready to have kittens, she'll come to these areas and she'll kind of sniff around, and that will help her find like a male to choose. So she'll use that information to choose which male to mate with, or whether she mates with 2 males. So it's good areas. It's like a club for pumas. Like they go there to find girlfriends and to get into to find out what's going on with the competition, things like that.
How do they choose like the smell?
We don't know how they choose, but they don't always choose the best. Sometimes they choose 2 of them, but it's a way for them to find the males. The females will often like scream there, and that's a way for the males to call the males in. So a lot of interesting things happen at those locations. So here's just a female. So she has her lips kind of up, they're kind of open. And house cats, horses will do the same thing. Lots of animals do it. And that's how they don't smell only with their nose. They also have these organs like inside their lips that they smell with too. So they kind of sniff the area with their nose and underneath their mouth. So that's why they have their mouth open. And here's a male kind of checking out, what's going on. So the competition. Let's see if this video will work. Not really sure. Hopefully, it doesn't take too long to load. So this is just that thing I was talking about, how they smell. It's called the Flehmen response. So here's a male kind of sniffing the competition. And he's leaving his own mark on top. Oops, frozen. Okay. Yeah, so you can, they pee on it so that the smell stays there. And they move the dirt around so that you can both see something and smell something. And if they really want it to last a long time, then they can poop on it too. Yeah. So I'm not sure. We'll give it a few more seconds and see if it loads. So I think he will kind of do that lip thing. If you have a horse or ever watch a horse, they do that really well because their lips can move really high. So you can see these are very important places for them to know kind of what's going on in the neighborhood. There it is. it's not like he's going to sneeze. It looks like that, but he's just kind of drawing in everything into his mouth. Yeah.
It is filmed in Santa Cruz? Or?
Yeah. Just with one, not like by a person, but by a camera.
Is this just one spot or?
No, many spots all over. Yeah. I'll show you a map. Okay. Oops. Okay. So one thing we want to do is we want to know, are there places mountain lions won't go, and are there places where they won't have babies? Are there places where they won't do this kind of behavior because there's too many people or too many dogs? So we made a map of how likely they are to use the Santa Cruz Mountains. So if you see red, those are places they won't go. If you see no color, those are places they use a lot. So basically, this is for like moving and feeding. So when they're moving and feeding, they use a lot of area. They don't go like in the cities, but they'll use this area a little bit, even though there's lots of houses there. And they use, any place there's no color, that they use that all the time. So that's one thing, but we wanted to know, is it different when they're having babies? It's much more dangerous for a baby kitten to be near people and dogs than to just, move by people, because if they're moving, they can always run away. So here, not that big of a deal, just moving and eating. So this is what it looks like when we look at where they're having kittens and where they are doing those communication behaviors. So now they stay much further from houses. So these are all areas where there's houses. So there's only very few areas where they can use the area and not try to avoid the area. So that tells us that mountain lions, depending on what behavior you're doing, they can be more sensitive or less sensitive to people. So when you think about protecting habitat or protecting forest, you have to make sure that it's not just the forest is protected, but it's also far enough from people that they can have kittens and leave those little calling cards for their friends. Okay, so for kittens and for communication. So we also want to know what happens when they're killed deer, and what kinds of things do they kill near people versus far away from people. So remember I showed you how we find where they kill things, so that's some skeletons of deer. So we tracked 30 mountain lions and went to 700 places where we thought they were killing things, and we found 208 deer that they killed, and used this information to make our model. So in a paper we published this year, we found that when puma, this is kind of like a lot of information, I'll just tell you what it means. When pumas were killing deer near people, they tended to not spend as much time eating the deer and would walk away from it during the daytime. But when they killed deer far from people, they would just stay with the deer the whole time and eat a lot more. So that means that they eat a lot more when they're farther from people, and there's not as much food left for scavengers like coyotes when they're far from people. So what that looks like, these are all places where they kill things. So here's one deer they killed near people, and here's one deer they killed far from people. So the deer they killed far from people, you can see they just stayed in the same place, and doesn't matter what time of the day, they just hung out there. But when they were closer to people, you can see the houses and tennis courts. They went away during the daytime, and then they went back. So they're using more energy to lead the kill, and they're not spending as much time feeding. Yes?
Do you personally go to all those places just to confirm?
I've been to a lot, but yes, we do go to as many as we can, not all of them. Some we use a model to predict. So we've found hundreds of them, but there's probably, thousands, a couple thousand. So we use our model to predict the ones we can't visit. Yeah. We also found that they kill more deer when they live in places with more people. So this is how many houses there are per hectare, and this is how many deer they kill per year. So for females, not males, females kill more deer when they live closer to people. And we think that's because they don't eat as much deer each time they kill it, and they have to move far away each time, so then they end up killing more. So that's a change in behavior that you couldn't understand until you followed them with GPS. The last thing I want to talk to you about, and then I'll give you a cool story, is we want to know where they were crossing Highway 17 to see if we could help them cross Highway 17 better. So when animals cross highways, it's not dangerous only to them, it's also dangerous to people. Hundreds of people die a year because of hitting deer. So we actually talk about how deer are a lot more dangerous to people than mountain lions, because people are always hitting deer in the mountains, which damages their car, kills the deer, sometimes kills the people too. So we want to help animals cross the highway to help people safety too, and not just animal safety. So we looked at where our mountain lions were actually crossing Highway 17, and there are 2 locations. So these are points where they cross 17. So here's Los Gatos, that's one area they cross. And then this is an area on Highway 17 where they use very regularly as well, and where they also get hit all the time. So we worked with the Santa Cruz Land Trust, and they actually spent money and they purchased land here, and they're working with the California Department of Transportation to increase the crossing area for mountain lions there. So now the area on both sides will be protected forest, and they'll be building like a better tunnel or some kind of bridge to help wildlife cross underneath. So it's one of the first things from our project that's gotten some kind of conservation results, which is nice. So this is just the Santa Cruz Land Trust talking about how they bought that piece of land. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a little story about a mountain lion that was in the news last year, and also just sometimes mountain lions get into the news in general. So New York Times had a thing on mountain lions, and it calls it a glamorous killer, which is kind of silly because I don't know why they're glamorous. It doesn't really make sense. Anytime you walk around in the mountains, you've probably seen this sign, right? So, and that's because generally people are really afraid of getting sued, so they just put signs up to make sure that they can't be sued for not warning people that there are mountain lions. But you get the sense from these newspapers that mountain lions are really dangerous and scary. But actually, we're a lot more scarier to them than they are to us. So I'm going to tell you about this little mountain lion called 46M. So you were asking about what happens when a mountain lion leaves its mom. So this is a story of one young male, probably 16, 18 months old, who left its mom and then got lost in Mountain View. So you can see he's underneath a car right now. And this is where he started, like in the woods, really nice, right? And that's where he accidentally ended up, which is in Mountain View. All the way up there. I don't know if anybody remembers this story. It was really big news for like in August or July or June last year. So a closer up look, you can see that, remember, a young male it's a dangerous time. He has to avoid big males, but he also has to leave his mom because she doesn't want to feed him anymore. And he doesn't know where he's going because he's never left his mom before. So imagine if you were, 12 and your mom kicked you out, and if you ran into a male, they would kill you. Like, it'd be pretty hard to wait. So that's what he's doing. And when he gets into town, it's not like he's trying to stalk kids or stalk people. It's just he's very confused and lost, and he's running around trying to figure out how to get out of there. So he ends up here in the apartments, and he's trying to hide in bushes. So that's where he hid. And again, like many people probably passed him, he had no desire to eat anyone. He was just really scared. And what ended up happening was somebody did see him. Usually when people see him, sometimes they'll just not say anything, and the mountain lion will go back into the woods. Sometimes they'll call the police, and then there will be helicopters and like police cars and everything. And that's what happened here. So they sent people, like they told people from our project about it, so we were able to go out there and we were able to tranquilize him and keep him from getting shot, which probably 5 years ago that's what would have happened. But now, instead of shooting mountain lions when they come into cities, they try to return them into the woods because they realize, they understand their behavior better.
How big is this?
This male, he's probably like, 80 pounds or something. Like a grown-up male can weigh 120 to 150 pounds, but a male leaving its mom, probably loses some weight because he doesn't know what he's doing yet. So he's probably only 80 or 90 pounds. Yeah. So basically, he gets rescued, and that was originally where he came from. And that was, I think after he got rescued, we kept following him, and he instead went like the other way. So again, he's trying to find his way. I think eventually he didn't end up surviving. I think he got hit by a car or something. But again, that happens quite often. So here's another male that went. So these are all tracks of different young males. So there's another one that went up to kind of Palo Alto and kind of settled in Palo Alto. Oops. So we've been trying to find as many young males as possible just to see where they go. But this one was really interesting because he was a big sensation for a while, and just because he got lost in the city. So I just want to talk a little bit about what it means to live with mountain lions. So how many people think that mountain lions are kind of dangerous to people? Okay. How many people do you think mountain lions kill a year?
Very few.
Okay. How about in 100 years? How many people do you think mountain lions have killed?
Less than 100.
Huh? Less than 100? Okay. Any other guesses?
Besides car accident, if not car accident.
Yeah. Okay, so actually, since 1890, 6 people have been killed by mountain lions. And 2 people were bitten by a mountain lion that had rabies. So they didn't die from the mountain lion, they died from rabies. So what is rabies? And it's like, yeah, they died from rabies. So if there's anything else, like everything else kills more people than mountain lions. And this is in California. So dogs have in the same time have probably killed hundreds of people. Bees have probably killed hundreds of people. Actually, I think there's a statistic that toothbrushes kill like 6 Americans a year just from accidents. Yeah, like falling and then, I guess. Deer kill a lot more people. Sharks even, and sharks aren't very scary. So people are afraid of mountain lions, right? But how many people are killed by cars every day? Like probably dozens in California. But if you see a car on the road, you don't like call the police and get super scared. So it just shows, even though mountain lions have shown very like small danger to people, a lot of people are afraid of them still, right? Whereas things like guns and cars are much more dangerous to people, but people aren't generally afraid of them all the time.
But if you see a mountain lion, should you run or should?
I will talk about that in 1 second. So a lot of people also think there are more mountain lions today. If you compare to 60 years ago when they were getting shot all the time, yes, there are more mountain lions, but there are also lots more people today. So that's why people are probably seeing mountain lions more, is because there's millions of people in the area who go into the woods, so there's lots of chances. If they wanted to eat people, there would be a lot of people for them to eat. But they almost never eat people, right? So clearly we are not on their menu.
I heard a couple of years ago that some cyclists in Irvine actually got eaten by something like that.
Yes, I think there was like in the 90s, there were 2, I think in 1990s, there were 2 kids who were killed. And then in 2005 or something, there was like a cyclist. It was not clear if he was killed by a mountain lion or if he died from a heart attack and then was eaten. Like it wasn't clear if he was killed or if he just died and the mountain lion was eating him. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't not happen, but it does happen very rarely compared to anything else. So if you do run into a mountain lion, don't run, because what runs away from mountain lions? Deer run away from mountain lions. So if you don't want them to think you are food, then don't run from them. Scientists have looked at like deer and elk that don't run from wolves. They do much better than the ones that do run, because if you don't run, you're showing that you're strong enough to fight the predator, and the predator like gets a sense of that. I'm sure everybody has passed a mountain lion and not known it, because they're very secretive, and they can like hide in a bush and you would never see them. So we have, we have collars on them, and we know where they are, and we still can't find them without the help of dogs. So we can follow them around as much as we want. They just walk away from us. So we know that they don't like try to find us. They try to move away from us. Even if they see you, usually most of them will run away because they're scared. If they don't run away, you don't want to run away. You want to look really scary, so you want to get really big. And if there's more than one person, you want to stand together and you yell and throw things and just look like you're ready to fight them. Yeah. And usually, even if when mountain lions have attacked people, when people fought back, they usually survive. It's not like an African lion where if it wants to eat you, it's going to eat you. A mountain lion, if it wanted to eat you, you could fight back and probably survive. So, again, it's not, I wouldn't worry about mountain lions. I would worry more about people and disease, like Lyme disease. So I think it's really great that we have mountain lions still. They're, sorry, the text is really bad. So it's nice to know that there's still a healthy ecosystem where we live. They help control deer numbers. They help keep coyotes from overpopulating, and they have some benefit probably to us with regard to disease, because they help kill a lot of deer. They also kill a lot of raccoons. They kill some pigs. A lot of those animals can spread diseases to us or to our pets. So they play an important role in our ecosystem, and we almost never see them. And they probably kill a lot of deer that otherwise would be hitting us on the roads. If you go to the East Coast, they have lots of deer accidents and lots of deer coming to eat food in gardens. But I think because we have mountain lions, we have a little bit less of that. So they provide some benefit to us. And if you want to help mountain lions, you can go take walks in the mountains, get to know, the environment, support having habitat that is not just for people, but also for wildlife, support building bridges across highways that will help animals cross the road. If you have pets and if you live, close to places where there's coyotes or mountain lions, don't leave your pets outside at night. They'll get eaten or they might get diseases. And you can always donate to any nature conservation place that helps buy land or protect these species. This is our website, santacruzpumas.org. We're still doing this project and probably will continue it for 4 more years. And it's been going on since 2008, so we know quite a lot about the local mountain lions, but there's still a lot we don't know because they're such hard animals to study. And then this is a really nice picture taken by a National Geographic photographer who set up nice Canon cameras with light bulbs. And this animal was our second male that we caught, number 4. He was a really cool guy, had a nice territory, and like many of our animals, eventually he was shot for eating goats or something. But anyway, I really like this picture. He looks really very realistic, very nice and in focus. And there's a few of these kind of pictures that are in National Geographic right now. And these are all the people who have helped us, and especially people who gave us money and access to their land. So these are the organizations that keep places for us to go on walks, like Peninsula Open Space, Santa Clara County Parks, California State Parks, and the Peninsula Regional Open Space. So that's it. And again, sorry how to be in English. Hopefully people got an idea what I was saying, and I'm happy to take any questions, English, Chinese, whatever. Yeah.
How did you grow special interest into mountain
Well, I'm not necessarily into mountain lions. I grew up here, and when I was in college, I wanted to study wildlife behavior and conservation, and I came back for graduate school. My advisor was starting a project on mountain lions, so that's how I got into that project. You know, right now I've worked with birds, elephants, mice, a lot of different species, and working with mountain lions was really fun because it's where I grew up. And when I was a kid, I didn't know they were there. So I like to help people realize that they live in the same place as us. Because it would have been cooler if I'd known that when I was a kid walking around, that I was sharing space with mountain lions. Yeah. Other questions?
How many mountain lions in there?
Yeah, that's a good one. We think the map that I showed you in that area, we think there's about 40 to 70 adults. So not too many, but there's also kittens and sub-adults that live there too. But we don't count them because a lot of them don't survive. So we only count the adults.
How about the female-male ratio?
I think about 1 to 3. So one male usually has about 3 females in his territory, if he can, and sometimes 4, sometimes 2. Yeah. There's some other males around too that don't have territories, but it's very hard for them to mate with females.
So the male doesn't kill the female?
No, because, well, very rarely. I mean, they do sometimes get into fights and they will kill her. Like if she tries to protect her kittens, he could kill her. But yeah, it's not a good idea to kill females if you want to have kittens.
So does females have territories?
Not really. They have an area they use, but they will move around. So a lot of times a female will move not too far from her mom, and sometimes she'll even visit her mom with her kittens. So occasionally you'll have pictures of 2 mountain lions with 6 kittens or something, and so she doesn't have to go very far away. They don't fight each other for territory.
So what's their lifespan, normal lifespan in terms of when they can have children of their own?
The females can have kittens after 2 years. Males, takes them, they don't usually get big enough until they're 4 or 5 to get their own territory. They can live big dogs 10, 12 years, 15 probably in zoos. Unfortunately in our area, they usually don't live that long, maybe 5 or 6 years before they get hit by a car or they get shot by someone. Yeah. Or they might get killed by another mountain lion. But in the place where there's no people, probably 10 to 12 years. Yeah. Yes.
Because there's so many animals that killed by cars when they're trying to cross the highway. So is there any arrangement helping animals to cross the highway?
Yeah, so we are trying to do one on Highway 17. Canada does really nice bridges over highways for animals. In Los Gatos, if you look under Highway 17, there is an area underneath the highway that's a big tunnel. The key is to make it pretty big. Animals don't like small, dark spaces, just like you wouldn't want to crawl through a small, dark space. They want a big tunnel or a big space that goes over. The other thing that helps them cross roads is having good habitat on both sides of the road. So forest on both sides. If it's forest on one side and a shopping mall on the other, they're not going to cross it. So having good habitat and then having a nice bridge, yeah. And the California Department of Transportation is working on that. It's a much bigger problem in Los Angeles, where they've been trying for 15 years to help this mountain lion population and other animals. But they have a 16, 12 lane highway there. So it's very, very wide and it's very hard for them to cross. And it's very expensive to try to build something, afterwards. Yeah. Did you have a? Yes.
So are those lions came from the same family tree?
That's a good question. So some of them we can find that are related to each other. We do have a family tree. I don't have it here. They're not too closely related. We don't have inbreeding problems yet. We'll see that sometimes we'll catch a lion and we'll see its DNA and we'll match another lion that we caught previously, so we'll know that it was the son or daughter of another lion. Yeah, but they're not all related to each other, but some of them we find are like sons or daughters of other ones we know. Yeah.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
One of them related to the inbreeding problem in Florida. Do they have any countermeasures?
Yes, in Florida, I think 10 years ago, they brought 10 female lions from Texas to give them a new gene pool, basically.
Where did, and going very back to the beginning of your presentation, you mentioned wolves were reintroduced in Yellowstone Park. Where were they introduced from?
They were introduced from Canada. So there was a lot of opposition against it, and a lot of scientists said that if you wait 20 years, they'll come to Yellowstone naturally from Canada. But they didn't want to, they really wanted to do it, so they reintroduced it. They didn't want to wait just in case they wouldn't come.
And so they've migrated through Oregon into California?
Yes, so we used to have wolves all across the United States, and most of them are killed. There's some in New Mexico and Colorado. There's some in Minnesota and Michigan, and Canada has a lot. So now that we don't kill them as much, they've been able to migrate back into Washington, Oregon, California.
Will there be a problem with the mountain lions and the wolves?
That's a good question. Scientists are looking at that right now. Mountain lions will change their behavior to avoid wolves, so they will not kill as many prey that wolves kill. They'll live in places with trees so that they can get away from wolves, so they won't live in places with no trees anymore. They have been killed a lot by wolves, but they used to live with wolves, so I think that they'll be fine living with wolves again. It's just more dangerous now for them. Yeah. But they used to all live together, so they can definitely live together as long as there's good habitat, some places with trees, some places with no trees, for both. Yeah.
So if there is no female or male to mate, would they make with other animals on the same category, like tigers?
No, they will. I mean, if it's like in Los Angeles, you have them mating with daughters and fathers mating, or mothers and sons will mate because there's no other animals. But they're not going to mate with another species. Yeah, unless it's in the zoo and you're kind of forced to. Yeah. Coyotes and wolves mate with each other, and wolves and dogs and coyotes and dogs mate with each other. The mountain lions, there's not a big cat to mate with, so they don't mate with anyone. Yeah, but it does happen.
Because I heard before the lions and tigers they mate and create a new species.
Yeah, that's in zoos though. So zoos will put a male tiger and a female lion, or a female tiger and a male lion, and they will make weird species, but those aren't really, they don't happen in the wild. Yeah.
Do you know males and females what difference? Because from the video, there isn't much difference.
No, the males are so females are 80 to 90 pounds, and males are 120 to 150. So the difference is big, how big they are. But otherwise, the females, if you know mountain lions, you can see that they look slightly different. The females are slimmer and their head's smaller. The males have a bigger neck, they're kind of more muscular. But you have to look at hundreds of mountain lions before you start seeing that. Because otherwise, they're one color, except when they're kittens. Yeah. There's a lot of rumors that they're black mountain lions, but there have never been any confirmed black mountain lion sightings. So some cats can be black, like jaguars and leopards, but mountain lions have never been seen or confirmed to have black coloring.
So I'm
Which one?
Jaguars.
Yeah, jaguars are the largest cat we have in North America, but they were also kind of hunted mostly to extinction. I think in the United States we might have like 10 left. They live in South America and Mexico, and sometimes in Texas and Arizona, but it's very few. With the large cats, the males will always go further because they have to find new territories. So sometimes males will come to a place, like males mountain lions have moved to New York or Connecticut, but then have died there because there's no females, to mate with. So females don't move very fast, so it takes a really long time for them to spread. Whereas wolves, they move together, like the male and the female live together, so they can spread really fast because they can just go and mate. But a mountain lion, you have to wait for the females to move into an area before you can repopulate. Yeah. Yes?
So I heard there's some kind of sensor you can install in the car. The sensor sends a frequency that deer or animals can hear, so they don't hit the car. Have you heard anything like that?
I haven't heard of anything like that. I know there's things that dogs can hear that you can send them.
Yeah, I heard that in Florida and Virginia.
Okay, well, maybe that's true, but I don't know that it works 100% because Florida and Virginia still have a lot. Actually, Florida, the biggest problem in Florida is mountain lions getting hit by cars. For them, not for Florida, but for mountain lions, they get hit by cars a lot. So I don't know that it works.
People just don't know and don't stop it.
Maybe, yeah. But I don't know, like, sometimes a deer would just be like fighting another deer. Like males would do that in September or October, so they might not even pay attention. And that's usually when most deer get hit, is in the fall, because the males aren't paying attention. They're fighting with each other. So it might work sometimes, but probably not all the time. Mm-hmm.
What are the main reasons people kill mountain lions?
The main reason is because in the Santa Cruz Mountains, where we do our research, it's because people will have pet goats or pet sheep, so like 3 or 5 goats. And it's really easy to protect them. You just put them inside something with a roof. But people will just kind of put them in a fence area, but the mountain lion can jump a fence very easily because it's not very high. And then what happens is the goats can't escape, and they keep running in front of the mountain lion. So the mountain lion just kills all of them because it sees all these things running in front of it. And then the people come and kill the mountain lion for that reason. Yeah. And about half of our animals that we track have been shot for that reason, or sheep. Yeah. They don't kill cows very often, so it's not that big of a problem with ranchers, but they do kill goats and sheep. Yes?
What's the say unsocial kind of living attitude? Why are the jaguars facing extinction, but not the mountain lions?
That's a good question. I mean, the jaguars are they started with a smaller range too, and mountain lions face extinction in local areas, and jaguars do as well. But I think part of it is maybe because they're a bigger animal, so they need even more land than mountain lions, and also there's not as many rules in Central and South America to protect them, so it's easier. They still get shot a lot legally and illegally. So even if there are rules to protect them, there's not as many people to make sure they follow the rules. And I think because their coat isn't really nice, people are also killing them more for that reason too. And mountain lions kind of they're pretty boring colored. They're really cool animals, but they don't have a nice coat color like the jaguar. So there's an added reason. And also jaguars will kill cows. So the ranchers definitely don't like them more than they don't like the mountain lions. Yeah.
It's probably just guess it's because it's bigger.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah. And jaguars are a bit more dangerous to people too. So mountain lions generally don't kill people. When you get to Canada, the mountain lions get bigger, so they can get up to 160, 180 pounds. And that happens a lot for many animals. The more north you go, the bigger they get. So they do sometimes have more negative interactions with people. But in general, jaguars might kill people more often than mountain lions. So they're a bit more dangerous too. Yes?
So, do mountain lions survive in captivity, like in zoos?
They do. You know, sometimes they get orphaned and they get taken into zoos. They get kind of fat there. So it's not like, I mean, like the ones that I worked with, they're really fat. Like the female was like 120 pounds, and normally she should be like 80 or 90. So we were really happy to put them on treadmills because they got exercise. Yeah, they do okay in captivity. Definitely, like, we don't want people to have them as pets. They're terrible pets. But in zoos where people know kind of how to take care of them, they're fine. Yeah, because they're really cute as kittens, and sometimes people will steal kittens as pets, but then they grow up, and then you have a giant cat, you know, living with you, so it doesn't make any sense. So it's not good for pets, but they can survive in captivity, yeah.
Yeah, but since male mountain lions are very territorial, so how do they cope with the change they face in a captive environment like in zoo?
Yeah, they probably keep them by themselves. Or sometimes they might neuter them. Like the ones that we know, it's 2 sisters and a brother. So the brother, everybody is spayed and neutered. So the brother is pretty calm, and they can be like associate together. But probably if you had them together, they might kill each other. You know, so they probably keep them in different cages or let them out different times. I'm sure they wouldn't do well together. It's interesting because it's possible when the males leave their mom, they might hang out together as brothers for a while. So cheetahs will do that, where the cheetahs' brothers will hang out together and maybe even fight off other males together. So it's possible mountain lions do a little bit of that, but not too much.
Is there a solution to the cheetah inbreed problem? Or
The cheetah one?
For the cheetah inbreed problem, or is that pretty permanent?
Well, we can't really make more cheetahs, so I think they are very inbred, and when you have inbreeding, you're much more susceptible to diseases, so one disease can kill a lot of species. But it might not be that bad. So has anybody seen like the elephant seal? It's like a big seal with like a big nose. Do you know what it's called? And I don't know what it's called in Mandarin. But they were all killed except for like, 12 elephant seals. And now there's more than 100,000. So inbreeding, you can overcome it as a population. And I don't know about the cheetahs. The cheetahs have other problems to worry about. I think inbreeding is probably number 3 on the list. Probably losing habitat to people and they're getting killed by lions are top problems. Mm-hmm. Yes?
Can you tell us about your organization? Is it nonprofit? Or if not, is it, where do you get the funding? Because you seem to be using a lot of the latest technology, analyzing data.
Well, Santa Cruz Puma Project is run out of UC Santa Cruz, and it's an academic project, and it's funded by the National Science Foundation. And it's funded, it's a collaboration between an engineer who's working on the collar, a physiologist who's studying the calories and energetics of the animal, and ecologists who are us, who are studying the animal's behavior. And the collar is funded because it's not just for mountain lions. We hope to use it on, actually it's being used on African lions right now. And we're hoping to use it on some other species in the future, like maybe cheetahs or snow leopards. Yeah. So trying to get the collar, actually they funded us for the collar, but we were able to use that money to also study ecology. Yeah, the collar, yes.
So are you going to publish this paper?
We published, I think we've published like 10 papers already in our lab that you can read. various things, and we're hoping to, continue publishing 10 or 20 more papers.
Which journal?
Oh, a lot of journals. There's American Naturalist, Science, Conservation Biology, the Public Library of Science journals, PLOS journals. Yeah, lots of them. We don't really have a list of our publications yet, but if you go to our website and look up my advisor, he has a list of all the publications on his website.
Are there enough food for those ornaments?
Yes, there's lots of deer.
They
So,
only hunt deers?
about 90% of what they eat is deer. Some mountain lions have learned to eat pigs, which are a problem because pigs kind of mess up water and things like that. And pigs are not from California; they were brought here.
How about turkey?
Yeah, I think they have eaten turkeys. They do eat raccoons. Some eat raccoons. Some will eat cats. So people leave their cats out. It's gonna get eaten by a mountain lion or a coyote one day.
How about dogs?
Yeah. They haven't eaten dogs. No, I think because they still think of dogs as wolves. Even little dogs, if they chase a mountain lion will run away from a little dog. But if a dog was maybe running away from it, maybe you would eat it. Yeah. But we have never seen it eat a dog. They'll sometimes eat a coyote or kill a coyote. And they'll eat skunks and opossums. Quite a lot of opossums, really, but mostly deer. Yeah. And it's different mountain lions will eat different things. Only 2 of them eat pigs, so nobody else does. We don't know why.
So the pig is like wild pig?
Yes, wild pigs. And they'll eat goats.
Eagles.
But goats?
Goats.
Goats are wild goats, you mean?
No, domestic goats. But it's very easy to eat a domestic goat because they're in a fence. They can't get away. So unless you keep them, unless you cover it with a roof, otherwise it's like a free snack. You know the movie like Jurassic Park, like the goats out for the T-Rex. It's like that. Like when you have your goats out, a mountain lion is gonna see it and say, okay, that's free food. Yeah.
So on average, how many deers does one mountain lion eat?
On average, it eats 1 a week.
1 a week.
Yeah, and if it's feeding kittens, maybe like 2, sometimes. If a mom has like 3 or 4 big kittens, she's gonna want to kill more than 1 deer a week because that's a lot of animals to feed.
A huge male deer may friend mountain lion, right?
I'm sorry?
A huge male deer may hurt.
Yeah, there's a story, I think, of pictures from Montana of a deer and a mountain lion that got in a fight, and they both fell off like a cliff and died on the road. So it's definitely dangerous to, they have to know what they're doing to kill a deer. Their moms have to train them like how to hunt, which is why I think they don't kill pigs, because they don't know how to kill a pig. You have to learn how to kill, because pigs have teeth. They're very dangerous too. Yeah, they can really like rip you up. Yeah. Yes.
So the female lion's a better hunter than the male.
No, I think if you survive, you both have to be really good hunters. I know that females have to kill more because of her kittens. But she also stays in a smaller area, so I think she knows where the food is better. The males have to like move further, and they have to like, be ready to fight another male. So I think they're probably about the same. Yeah. The female probably hunts more. Actually, maybe not, because the male has to move around more than the female, so maybe he has to hunt just as much because he can't go back and eat again. Yeah.
But
Yes.
the male never hunt the kitten.
Well, I've heard one story where a male babysat kittens before, but that was only one story. But usually, they don't have any part. Their help is to keep other males from coming in so that their kittens don't get killed. So that's kind of their job, is to make sure that they own the territory still.
So do mountain lions with because they're living so close to humans now, do they have the same buffer zone kind of capability to fend off global warming for other animals, because they leave their food more often, so there's more chance for scavenging?
Yeah, well, that's not so much of a problem here as it is places where there's snow. So we don't have like as many animals dying in the winter because the winters aren't very bad here. But we do have a study looking at scavenging and how whether more animals come, like coyotes and foxes, can eat mountain lion kills when they're closer to people. So we don't know the results of that yet, but we're looking at whether or not that's true. Yes.
Can the deer smell the mountain lions like pee and stuff and try to walk away?
That's a really good question. So we have videos of, so a bobcat, I don't know how to say bobcat in Chinese, they're smaller cats with a short tail. They'll come and smell it, and they'll put their own they'll pee on it themselves. And they're much smaller, so I don't know why they do it. The deer will smell the area, for sure. I don't know what they're thinking, but they don't really like run away. They kind of just keep moving. So who knows? Maybe they don't know. Maybe they know mountain lions are in the area already, so it's not that much of a difference. We did find that deer eat differently near people than far from people. So when they're closer to houses, we think they feel safer, and they spend more time eating, and they eat, like the plants don't grow as high. So if you put two plants at the same time and see two plants at the same time in a place near people and a place far from people, the plant further from people will grow more. We think because the deer spends less time eating there. And that's what the research of one of our grad students, or one of the grad students, is doing. And she found that there are differences in how much they eat. Yeah. So I don't know what they think when they smell it, but they do smell it. And then they walk away. Yes?
Did you do anything to kind of change their behavior right now in monitoring? For example, did you try to help them to locate their territory?
No, we don't change their behavior. The only time we do anything is if they walk into town, we'll help take them out and move them into the woods. Again, we try not to affect them. We want them to just behave naturally. The only thing we're trying to change is people's understanding of them and their movements. We did talk about having their collars have a signal so that when they get close to a place with goats or sheep, that maybe the place with goats and sheep can tell the person living in the house, like a mountain lion's getting close, as a way to keep them from, getting into trouble. But we don't have like the technology for that yet, or the money for that yet.
So your sensor help humans to know, or help the goats to know?
I think help the humans to know. Yeah. So the idea is that when it senses the animals close, somebody can get a text message to go check on their goats if they don't already have their animals, hidden away. Or maybe it sets off like lights and sounds, so it scares the mountain lion away.
What if the dogs are
Or
around?
releases the dogs. Yeah. Right. So there's ideas for like how to combine that technology with GPS, so you know where they're going, and to warn people, so there's not as much conflict. Yeah.
So you said the ranchers, they have 1 week to kill the
yes.
herd the sheep. So why do they want to kill the mountain lion? Is it for their hunters, or?
Well, I think it's just sometimes it's because they get mad that their goats died and they want revenge. Sometimes they think that, a lot of them think there's too many mountain lions, so they want to kill as many as they can. And we try to explain that there's actually research that if you kill adult males, you get more mountain lions because you have more teenage males, like having smaller territories. You end up with more like a population growth. So it's hard to explain that, though, to people, that if you kill more animals, you actually end up with more animals for a certain period of time because it doesn't make that much sense to them unless they understand the biology. A lot of people don't want to kill them. So California is very progressive. There's a lot of positive attitudes towards mountain lions. If you go to Montana, they just will shoot wolves and not tell anyone. And it doesn't matter if it's legal or not. They'll just do it. But here, usually, like, it's not as, they will illegally kill them sometimes, but not as often as probably in Montana. So.
What's the punishment that you
Well, there's supposed to be like a fine and also jail time, but it doesn't always happen. So we know, actually we were on TV once, like on the show, and we like identified that a mountain lion was killed at this one house because we had the collar, and they went to the house and arrested the person, but I don't know what happens. Like sometimes they don't arrest them, they just talk to them, and sometimes they do, arrest them, so maybe they have to pay some money. Yeah, but it's not that big of a fine. They might have to go to jail, but I don't know how often that happens. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Has there been cases of research actually having an effect on the law?
Oh, on the law? Well, I think what our research has had an effect on is now when the mountain lion comes into a town, the law is to try non-lethal methods first before a lethal method. So I think that's an instance where you don't just shoot, mountain lions because it wanders into the city. You try to return it to the wild, which because they understand it's not like here to eat us, it's just lost. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions?
So the mountain layer is on the top of the food chain in the area?
Well, we are at the top of the food chain, but it is also at the top. Yeah, it is at the top of the food chain. Mm-hmm.
After they are killed, what do you do, like with their dead body?
What do we do? Mm-hmm. So it's illegal to have a mountain lion like body parts in California. We usually take it to the Department of Wildlife, and they will determine cause of death unless it's really obvious. Sometimes it's like really old, so we just leave it in the woods. They usually burn the body because they don't want anyone to take it. Like it's because you aren't allowed to take it. Sometimes they'll let us keep the skull for education. We have some that we want to see if we can like put it in our museum, but you need a special permit because they're a special animal in California. Yeah, to do something with it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in earlier slide, I see that mountain lions live across the America's continent. So
yes.
They live from Canada all the way to South Africa.
South America.
South America, yeah. But do they have a preferred environment, like preferred climate?
No, that's what's really great about them is they're very adaptable. They can live in the desert, they can live in the high mountains, they can live in the rainforest. It's really amazing. Mountain lions evolved. They came from North America, so cheetahs also are from North America, and then cheetahs moved to Africa and like became extinct in North America. So mountain lions moved to South America, and then they became extinct in North America, and then they moved back from South America to North America. So they've actually done this kind of weird south migration and then north migration. But they're really amazing. I think if you took a mountain lion from the tropical rainforest and put it in the desert, it probably would die. But they've learned, over thousands of years to live in the different habitats. If you go to Brazil, there are some mountain lions that are only like 40 or 50 pounds, which is really interesting. And then if you go to Canada, they're 160, 180 pounds. So they can look very different too. And maybe if you wait another 200,000 years or a million years, they might be like 4 different species. So a tropical species and a mountain species and a desert species or something. Yeah, but right now they're all the same, basically, species. They're pretty new kind of animal. Yeah. Yeah, so we do things like this, like give talks. We give our information to organizations whose purpose is to educate the public. We try to talk to like different groups each year as many times as possible. And we used to have a program with schools where schools would come out and do trips and things like that. Yeah. So there's more than just our group. Like a lot of people are kind of working on it across the state. So I'm here. I'm happy to answer any more questions. Like, oh, sure.
How often are you going to field trip?
Oh, well, we don't really do. Well, we used to have field trips with schools where we would take them to places and show them like dead deer, and then show them like our equipment. But we haven't done those for a while, I think, because we partnered with this group, and then they are kind of doing their own thing now. Yeah. So yeah, we don't like do field trips. We have undergraduate students and high school students who will come help us. But it's like, it's hard, it's tricky work. Yeah, it's very dirty work and hard work too. But thanks for listening, and check out our website, and I'm also, come talk to me afterwards. Thanks, Raymond, for inviting me. But hopefully you guys will, go out and go take a walk and look for mountain lion signs on the ground, and tell your friends about mountain lion signs. And hopefully you're not scared of them anymore, because we like go out with deer, for them, and they run away from us. So it's really like nothing to be scared of. Yeah.
So is it possible for humans to approach mountain lions? I mean, a friendly way, like pet them, or?
No. No. Yeah, no, don't do it. One, they'll run away from you, so you'll never be able to find them or catch them. And yeah, also I think it's illegal to try to like follow them. Yeah, unless you have a permit. If you find, like when people find orphaned kittens, the kittens will like get attached to you really fast. But again, it's not a good idea to have pet mountain lions either. But I know they've rescued, kittens, and the kittens will just become like a normal cat to you while they're growing up. Yeah. But not the adults. They'll run away.
Do you need volunteers?
Do I need what?
Volunteers.
Oh,
I mean, for your
we have people who come out and do volunteer photography for us. And some people have come out, because they want to like look at our equipment or things like that. We've had some talks with like Google engineers about things, I think. So we do have people come out. It's hard to volunteer for though, because we have only 2 trucks, so each truck can only hold 2 people. Usually we don't have very much room, and it's like hard to coordinate where to go each day. But yeah, if you have, if you're interested in certain specific things, or if you are a good photographer, then we've had those people come out. We've had people come out and make movies with us, or TV shows, kind of things like that. But otherwise, unless you have your own car, it's kind of tricky to have that help.
That's so bad. There's no such some kind of mountain lion watching program, or
no, sometimes people will tell us if they find like a deer that's been killed recently, and we have gone out to people's houses and trapped a mountain lion there, and they've been able to see it. Sometimes people will send us pictures, like they'll put their own camera up in their yard, and they'll get pictures of mountain lions and send that information to us. So you can do that if you have a yard, and you can put a camera up and see what animals are using it. And you can send us information if you have mountain lion information. Yeah.
How do you donate a dead deer if I ever
Oh, well, donating a dead deer. Usually,
it's already on the slides.
yeah, the California Department of Transportation just tells us, and they pick it up for us and put it in a freezer for us. So they do all the work. So you don't have to worry about that. But if you have a freshly killed one in your yard, then by a mountain lion, then you can donate that one to us, and we can put a cage on it to trap the mountain lion. Yeah.
So when we find a dead deer, do we call 911?
Yeah, I think you should call. I don't know if you call 911 or like. That's a good question. I think you can call the police because they do come and like move it off the road, and then the Department of Transportation should come and pick it up. So they don't leave it on the road. But I don't know if you call the police or the Department of Transportation. I might check the internet before you call that. Yeah.
Is picking up roadkill in California illegal?
Is what?
Picking up roadkill.
I think it might be. I'm not sure.
But you should call police first, and they'll tell you if they can.
I mean, like, it depends on where you are. Some places you can get roadkill and eat it. Like, some people will, pick up fresh deer on the road. But I think you probably can't do that on highways because it's too dangerous.
Yeah.
Maybe if you were in, like, a county road in, like, Sierras or far away from a city, nobody would know. You could probably do it. It's probably fine. But here on the highways, it's illegal because of the danger part. Yeah, imagine if people stopped on like 101 or 17. Yeah, and also traffic, Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, hope you guys enjoy mountain lions more now.
Thank you.